This is a Mountain News Special Report. Good afternoon. I'm Steve Hensley. We're coming on the air to bring you live coverage of President Joe Biden's visit to eastern Kentucky following the historic and deadly flooding. He is now speaking with Governor Andy Beshear in Breathitt County at Marie Roberts Elementary School in the Lost Creek area. Let's listen in.
Thank you to our first responders, our National Guard, along with Kentucky State Police, West Virginia, and Tennessee National Guard airlifted out over 1,300 people. Our Kentucky State Police, Lexington Fire, and others with their boat rescues, we know it's 700 plus. Those are 2,000 of our people that wouldn't be with us here today, but for their incredible work. So for all of them, we are so thankful. Other folks have moved heaven and earth to get where we are, what, about 9 days from when this hit. We've got power to everybody but about 200 homes, and that is incredible. Water to more people than we ever thought was possible in this period of time. Cell phone service up. We even have cell phone service and internet at a state park at Buckhorn that I don't think has ever had cell phone service and internet. Today is beautiful, but the weather has not helped us out. It's either been raining or altogether too hot, but we know that the world has come to our aid with more donations and more dollars than we've ever seen. One message is the donations we need now are dollars. We are overwhelmed with clothes and water and the rest. There are a lot of good charities out there, including our Team Eastern Kentucky Tornado Relief Fund, the Red Cross, and others. What we need now are the dollars for the medium term and the long term rebuilding. But with that, let me turn it over to a president that when he called me, said, whatever you need. And I will tell him that I said, thank you, Mr. President, I need these three things. And one of them included individual assistance, and I was asking for it the day after, and he came through. We're really grateful to have you here. To us, in this response, there is no red or blue, R or D, there is just Team Kentucky, and thank you for being there for us.
Thank you. Look, as you all know, we've suffered a consequence of climate change, a significant number of weather catastrophes around the nation. Just in the year and a half I've been president, I've flown over thousands of acres of fire, forest is burning, more forest burned down in the west, and the entire state of New Jersey, from New York all the way down to the Wilderness. And I'll tell you one of the things I've learned. Number one, you better have somebody who really knows how to run FEMA. I mean that sincerely, and I do. She has been incredible. You really have, Mr. Minister, you've been incredible. But also knowing that the outfit asking for the help is going to know what to do. It makes a big difference. You want to help everybody, every American the same way. But some outfits who ask for help, some Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. Some folks don't know what to do with it as quickly as they think they can use it. And it's one of the reasons why, and I know Andy is probably I'm more of a pain in the neck, because when the flooding started, I called him first. Because I was down here at the time when Mayfield and Dawson Springs, it was before Christmas. I watched a totally different thing, tornadoes, but I watched how this state responded. And as the dean knows, they get along now. Everybody gets in this trouble, everybody jumps in. And I mean that's all the way from, Mr. Connell and I, we battle all the time on issues, but education, when it comes to construction, when it comes to these issues, it's all one team. And I really mean it. And it really matters. I was saying, as I flew down here in a helicopter, I have had a great occasion. I said 5, I think it's 4 occasions to fly from the most western point of the state to the most eastern point. It's a magnificent state. And flying down here, you look at how beautiful it is. I mean, I really mean it. And you think of how incredibly heartbreaking it is that people, as you look at those creeks and streams that are now running brown, and you see from the helicopter, you see automobiles, everything from buses, to automobiles, to homes, you know, it literally in the middle of the water, on the side of the road. And you think to yourself, what in God's name happened? Those, was it 37 now? 38 people who are dead, you know.
You or a loved one have been seriously injured in a wreck. It feels like you're losing control.
Don't leave your future in the hands of the insurance.
Ended up in trouble. And you see the pictures of those 4 beautiful children on television, you think, my God, what a devastating thing to be a parent, be in that circumstance. You see a father who sacrificed his own life to save an injured driver. I mean, the things people do when there's really a crisis really matter. And Jill and I are grateful for the first responders, the National Guard, for what you do. You know, I think first responders, at least up until not too long ago, were kind of taken for granted around the country. Not now, after COVID and some of the other things. I mean, it is back in my home state, Delmarva Peninsula area, the first responders are, they're the lifesavers. Volunteer fire companies. I mean, these guys, there's that old saying, God made man, then he made a few firefighters, Who the hell else runs into flames? But all kidding aside, think of all the things they've done, the National Guard stepping up, everything they've been asked to do. And flying home to home, county to county, pushing through the chaos and exhaustion, trying to save every single life you can is kind of who you are. I've gotten to see you. I've gotten to see you pretty up close and personal. And when I got elected, I promised to be, and it's not hyperbole, the president of all Americans. There really is no red and blue when it comes to these things. People are people. They need help. And that's, like I said, it's unfortunate. It's my second visit to Kentucky for a crisis. And what I said holds true today. It's going to take a while to get through this. I promise you, we're not leaving. The federal government, all its resources, we're not leaving. As long as it takes, we're going to be here. And we are committed, and this absolute 100% coverage of costs for the next 3 months, it matters. What people don't realize, all those piles of debris and everything else, it takes us a lot of time, a lot of money to get that out of the way. And so that's why we did the expedited disaster declaration. Provides temporary housing, home repairs, property loss for homeowners. We've already gotten out $10 million out the door, a lot more to go, directly to flooding survivors to support their recovery. And on Saturday, I committed the federal government, as I said, to 100% emergency work for 30 days will be necessary for communities in eastern Kentucky to recover and begin to rebuild. And so. Immediately after the flooding, and working closely with the governor's office, search and rescue teams, distributing food and water and other necessities, getting power restored, water to communities, get phones, internet service back up, register survivors for disaster assistance, including $500 direct payment for immediate cost of food, water, and prescriptions, and FEMA's mobile disaster recovery centers are impacting communities. Some are going door to door to see who needs help. One of the things I think that we all forget, in moments of crisis, not everybody is prepared to know how to respond, to know where to go, to know what to do. Not everybody is in the same circumstance. And so, if you're a survivor and you have any cell service, go to 1-800-621-3362. 1-800-621-3333. 1-800-621-3362 directly. And you can find out where you have to go to get what you need. Additionally, the U.S. Corps of Engineers has deployed experts to remediate hazardous materials from wastewater systems and restore critical roads and bridges. I don't know whether you have a calculation yet of how many roads and bridges you're going to need to build and replace, but we're going to get it done. And join us today is Rachel Chambers from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, who's working to make sure that rural communities can easily access a range of federal assistance as well. I also want to thank Gail McGovern, President of the American Red Cross. Red Cross is always there. Always there. No, it really is. I remember as a kid learning about the Red Cross from an uncle who was in World War II. Red Cross is always there with some friends. Well, every disaster I've seen since I've been president, they're always there. The bottom line is that people conducting here made it clear to your governor and members of Congress, Hal Rogers, Mitch McConnell, and others, that anything they want, know these guys are going to fight like hell to get it for you. And I promise you, if it's legal, we'll do it. We'll do it. If it's not legal, we'll figure out how to change the law. So we're all kidding aside. There's a lot we have to do. People need some navigators. People who don't know, are devastated already, lost their home, trying to figure out who do I call, how do these people navigate through this. And we're going to do that too. So, Gov, thank you for everything you're doing. Like I said, you're stuck with us. We're here until it's over.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next, we'll hear from a congressman who served this region not for about as long as I've been alive. But it's not only the Dean of Congress, but he is always fighting for Eastern Kentucky. Regardless of the administration, he is steadfast in supporting Kentuckians and Kentucky families. For that, I'm grateful. Our working relationship has been wonderful, whether it is attracting new jobs or in this instance, being there for our people. Congressman Rogers.
Thank you, Governor. Those are nice words meant. Mr. President, we are so...
You want this mic, boss?
Mr. President, we are thrilled that you're here. I'll tell this, I think it's the truth. If not, we'll make it so. This storm occurred at 3 a.m. I think it was a Sunday. And I got the Kentucky delegation together, federal delegation, and we signed a letter to you requesting emergency declaration. And before that day was out, the declaration was signed, which I think is a record time, the same day as the storm. And you've been on the spot all the way through. And of course, the governor has been terrific in his leadership, pulling the state's assets together with federal help, thank goodness for FEMA and others. But the volunteers have been great, and the spirit of the people of East Kentucky shines through it. I'm reminded of the scripture that says, we are pressed but not crushed, persecuted, not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. So the people of this region are doing yeoman's work in cleaning up, reorganizing their lives, all the while being helped by angels like in this room, who are helping them get back to life. And Mr. President, you are our #1 booster, and we thank you for being here.
Thank you. By the way, Dean, I didn't tell you, I had a little prejudiced view of Kentucky. Best thing ever happened to my family is a girl from Owensboro decided to marry my brother Jim. And she bleeds blue. She went to University of Kentucky That's the only part I get a little tired of sometimes. But anyway.
I think next we're going to hear from somebody I've become on a first name basis with. That's FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell. I will tell you, the two people at this table gave me their personal cell phones some months ago. And the first three and a half hours, I had called both Gail McGovern and Administrator Criswell. And Administrator Criswell had been on a plane. She was landing in Tennessee. Immediately called back upon landing. And because of where she was and who she was talking to, the Tennessee National Guard came to our aid, bringing their helicopters with hoist capabilities within a matter of hours, making hundreds of saves. Just her being there and picking up the phone meant that there are Kentuckians with us today that would otherwise not be. Administrator.
Does this mic work? Sounds like it does. You know, I'd like to start by first sharing my gratitude, Mr. President, to you and the First Lady for being here today and standing strong with the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It really means a lot to everybody here and my team that's here supporting. And on behalf of FEMA, Governor, for you and the First Lady of Kentucky, your emergency management office and all of the local emergency management officials, I just want to express my thank you to you for your outstanding leadership that you have shown over the last several really hard days. And I think you've heard this already, but I always like to recognize all of those amazing first responders that are out there supporting Kentuckians, many of them who have had personal loss and personal tragedy throughout this, and the fact that they continue to put their lives ahead of what their needs are to make sure that they're helping those that are in the greatest need. And finally, just to let you know that the nation stands behind you right now and is here to support Kentucky with what their needs are. It's been a really challenging situation to watch unfold. It's been heartbreaking and hard to really put in words the stories that we continue to hear. And I just want to say that we commit to being here with you on your road to recovery, and as Mr. President has said, for as long as you need us here. I would even add to that, we were still here for the tornadoes that happened just before Christmas of last year. And because we had a presence here, our team was able to mobilize very quickly to begin providing some coordination efforts and bringing in resources that could help with the flooding that was going on. So I'll give you just a quick update of what we're doing here on the ground. So far, we have deployed over 700 FEMA personnel to assist with the response and the recovery efforts that are ongoing. Our urban search and rescue teams, they will remain in the area on standby until you tell me that you don't want them here anymore. So they will be here to support you. To support critical needs, we've delivered more than 134,000 meals to date and 917,000 liters of water to the impacted communities. We will bring in more if you need more. And then finally, FEMA has been able to provide over 800 Kentuckians so far across the 12 designated counties with over $13 million in disaster assistance under the major disaster declaration. We do expect this number to increase, and as I spoke with the governor earlier today, we are calling back anybody that has been denied assistance to make sure we can talk to you about what your needs are and make sure we have a better understanding. Said, Mr. President, sometimes you don't know what to ask for, and so maybe we don't get the form filled out right, and so we'll continue to do that. We're also going to make sure that we work with the governor's team to help get to those isolated communities, and how do we get our teams that are in the field. We have what we call disaster survivor assistance teams that are walking around going door to door with iPads, but we know that there's communities that are isolated, and so we want to make sure that we can figure out how we can get to them and get them registered if they need assistance. We also have fixed and mobile registration centers, and so we're going to bring in different types of resources because we understand that everybody's situation is unique to them. We're also supporting non-congregate sheltering efforts. This is what you heard the governor talk about with the RVs that we had in place from the tornadoes. This is a program that we really matured during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we have found how valuable it is during the early days of a disaster response like this. We also have housing inspectors that are in the field doing damage assessments and working with them, and then we'll continue to do preliminary damage assessments to see if we need to add on additional aid. And so in closing, I'd just say Governor, Mr. President, Kentucky, unfortunately, no stranger to tragedy. But you have a resilient people here. And what warms my heart is just to see how neighbors continue to help neighbors each and every day. And we will continue to be here with you throughout your recovery.
Well, may I say something?
You're the president.
I still have to ask permission. Kidding aside, you know, one of the things, and I think that maybe the Congressman may agree with me, that is positive that's changed, is for a while, the years that I've been in the Senate, a long time, since the 70s, we find that when there was a disaster that hit in one section of the country, there wasn't an overwhelming desire to vote to help that section of the country if you weren't from that section of the country. For example, we find that we always have farming disasters in the Midwest. Everybody in the East would saddle up and pay for it. We had a major flood, hurricane along the East Coast. My state is 3 feet above sea level. People say, what the hell, why do I have a responsibility to do that? Not a joke. Remember Sandy and other storms, that there was a reluctance on the part of the rest of the members of the House and Senate to vote for it. What the bad news, I was saying to the Gov, that my mother had an expression, everything bad, something good will come if you look hard enough for it. I think what's happening here is we're beginning to realize this is one country, it's a federal system, but it's one country. And the fact that you're in Tennessee and the National Guard comes with lift helicopters across the way to help out, and West Virginia the same way. It's happening all across the country, happening out west too. A number of firefighters, I mean thousands of firefighters, many of whom have lost their lives fighting fires in other states. And so I just think it's, I think there's one good thing that's come from this is we've realized that, you know, this is an American problem, not just a problem for an individual state. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Administrator, and thank you to the federal government's commitment. Back in the housing challenge, it's going to be posed by this natural disaster is going to be one unlike any we have seen before. But I will say FEMA thus far is doing things it has never done before. I think the President just committed we continue to do things. that
We got to try. $35,000 not going to be enough for people who didn't have any insurance at all and had a modest home to begin with.
Amen. We'll turn it over now to Colonel Jeremy Slinker. He is the head of emergency management in Kentucky. And I got to say, he and his team have been doing an incredible job, also getting things done that we've never seen before. Now having, I think, every healthcare operator up and running, having to deliver water to so many of them. Colonel Slinker, you're doing a great job.
Thank you, Governor. I appreciate that, Mr. President. Thanks for the opportunity. You know, my comments will be very similar to what everyone has already else said, but just substantiates how true they are. I mean, it's been truly teamwork. And you just made the comment that I was going to mention. We have Team Kentucky, but I can't tell you how many other states have reached out to me offering assistance. And we have other states in our EOC and also in the impacted areas supporting our local emergency management office there as well. So it truly is Team United States. And I can't express enough the appreciation for all the support that's coming. You know, what we owe, the search and rescue efforts have been described of how monumental they were. So now what's up to myself and my colleagues in FEMA Administrator is that we give those same efforts in the recovery because it's equally as important. We did the emergency work. Now it's going to take that just as much efforts to help people and save their lives in the recovery operation as well. And you have that commitment from Kentucky Emergency Management, and I speak, I think, for our local emergency management directors like Director Friley that's here at the table. As well, some of the challenges we're running into, a lot of these residences are cut off because they have residential bridges. And once that bridge is gone, it may be challenged to get out, but we're throwing every resource we have at it. FEMA is supporting us on those, and we just completed an objective of doing wellness checks on all those people that are across those bridges, and we're identifying what their needs are. And then we're being as simple as if they need a bottle of water, they also need every other service that's out there to offer needs to be delivered across that creek to them as well. And we're going to work together, and I've had that commitment as well from my colleagues at FEMA to get that done. And as mentioned, the sheltering mission, people need places to stay, and we're scouring the area to locate all areas that can house our survivors, as well as at all of these disaster recovery centers, as they talk to a federal resource. If they look to the right or left, they're going to find a state resource or a local resource. Whatever it is, it's a one-stop shop that we're setting up so they don't have to drive multiple places or try to find them or locate them. And then you mentioned as well, your experience in these are well noted. Debris cleanup is coming, and they're having meetings as we speak about the waterway debris cleanup, which is going to be very challenging, and we'll be rolling that out and getting it started very soon. But ultimately, I'll close with, you know, I take it personal. I have a lot of friends and colleagues in this area. All the emergency management directors that we speak with regularly, we've stood up a daily call with the county officials, that the ones to my left and across the table from here are on there every day, where we give out information, but not only do we listen to you, and we want them to give us every need they have, and we'll respond in every way we can. So that's our commitment. There'll be no rock left unturned, and if there's a resource out there, we'll ask for it, and we appreciate so far all the answers have been yes. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to pause a moment as the press departs, but if I can, to you, thank you for telling our story. It's important that the world sees what's happened here, the tough times people are going through. Thank you for telling our story.
All right, and that wraps up President Biden's first public briefing today. We understand he's going to talk a little bit later as well after visiting a neighborhood. We don't know exactly where he's going to go, but I assume it will be somewhere in the southern Breathitt, northern Perry County area, which of course had lots of destruction from this flash flood. That was from Marie Roberts Elementary School in Lost Creek in Breathitt County. The president flew into the Wendell Ford Airport in Perry County via helicopter. He landed earlier at Bluegrass Airport in Lexington. The agenda for the rest of the day, and I believe they're probably going to be a little behind because it's already almost 1:30 and his next remarks were scheduled at 2. I doubt that will happen right at 2 o'clock, but he's going from the school to visit a neighborhood and talk to some families impacted by the flooding. He will deliver remarks after that. Of course, we hope to carry those live as well. I know that was a little hard to hear. Again, we don't have control over the picture or the audio because that is a pool camera. Only a select few members of the national media were allowed to be with the president today. And that's the case for the rest of the afternoon as well. The president right now is scheduled to leave Perry County, the Wendell Ford Airport at 3:25. I'd say that will be pushed back if I was guessing, and then leaving Bluegrass Airport at 4:20. So we'll see how that plays out. Of course, some of this could happen during our 4 o'clock news, but we'll try to carry all these events live as they happen this afternoon, and if the pool cameras allow us to do that. Just some highlights. The governor started talking. We didn't hear the very beginning of his comments, but I did hear him say only about 200 people are still without power in eastern Kentucky after this historic flooding about a week and a half ago. We know there's still quite a few folks without water. I saw this morning that there are 600 customers still without water in Knott County. I know there are quite a few here in Perry County as well. I don't have an exact number of the entire region, but lots of folks are still without water or under a boil water advisory. I believe all of Perry County is still under a boil water advisory. I want to get some clarification on this, but I believe, and again it was hard to hear, I believe that they said the death toll has now risen to 38. It had been at 37 for quite a few days. but I believe the governor mentioned that it's up to 38. We don't know what county that additional death has been reported out of. The president did blame this disaster on climate change and the recent disasters that we've seen across the country. He promised that the federal government will not be leaving Eastern Kentucky. He says as long as it takes, we'll be here, a sentiment echoed by the others who spoke. You also saw Congressman Hal Rogers, who thanked the president for coming and approving the disaster declaration so quickly. I've heard many people say that this was a record as far as approving the disaster declaration. Certainly good to see some bipartisanship there between the congressman and the president. Something we haven't seen at some points today on social media, unfortunately. Somebody from FEMA talked, also giving an update, and everybody really praising the first responders that have mobilized and helped with the rescues, and all the volunteers that have come in here. It's certainly the biggest volunteer relief effort that I've ever seen in Eastern Kentucky. But certainly, whatever you think of the president, it's a historic visit following a disaster. This is the first president I know of that's visited the region after a disaster, and now he's visited Kentucky twice. First, back a few months ago after the devastating tornado outbreak out in western Kentucky. This is the first sitting president to visit Perry County since President Bill Clinton visited both Jackson and Perry counties back in 1999. And the first sitting president I can remember to visit our viewing area since President George W. Bush visited London back in 2003. Presidents Obama and Trump never visited Eastern Kentucky. The closest Trump came was for a rally in Richmond, I believe. Of course, we didn't have a disaster, a flooding disaster anyway of this scope, maybe ever, and of course, certainly not in the last few decades. Of course, we had the March 2nd, 2012 tornado outbreak, but now the death toll for this flash flooding event has gone above that, and certainly there's more widespread devastation from this flooding event than what we saw on March 2nd, 2012. So just to recap really quick, and then I want to go over some FEMA information that we can put on the screen. You just saw the president, Governor Beshear, Congressman Rogers, and others at a briefing at Marie Roberts Elementary School in Lost Creek. He's now going to visit some families in a neighborhood that were affected, and we hope to hear from the president again a little bit later on. Let's put up on the screen, if we can, some of the latest information from FEMA. We certainly want to get this out to you. Mobile registration centers open daily from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Those are in Breathitt, Clay, Floyd, and Knott counties. You can see the locations there, and also in Letcher, Owsley, Perry, and Pike counties. Those are FEMA mobile registration centers that are open. Now, this is a bit of new information, there are 2 counties with FEMA disaster recovery centers. It's a little bit different. Knott County at the Sportsplex, and in Clay County in Oneida Elementary School. Now, survivors from any county can go to those centers to get help applying for FEMA assistance. We'll have all this information on our website available as well. So we will be back on the air when the president hopefully makes remarks after visiting some families in an affected area. Right now that's scheduled for 2 p.m. I'm guessing it will be later than that. And of course, if it happens during our 4 o'clock newscast, we'll carry it live too. But that's the next time we'll be back on the air. And then, of course, we'll show you the president's departure, if we can, too, from Perry County back at Wendell Ford Airport. For now, let's get you back to regular programming. I'm Steve Hensley. We'll see you again soon.